Hey guys, this is Eric with Nutrition by Eric. Glad you stopped by today. Hope you're doing well. Um, I thought I'd give you a quick video on the concept of nutrient dense, the term nutrient dense, and what it means. So, nutrient density, um, 'cause we all eat in many different ways, based on our culture, our background, our interests, what's available in the season. There is a lot of variety and there's a lot of opportunity to change what you eat. If you don't know already, if this is your first time stopping by and you're not familiar with my work, I went through a nutritional program and I'm a certified health coach where we learned over 120 different diets. So that's eating many, many different ways, everything from like paleo and raw and vegan, macrobiotic, Chinese style medicine diet, Indian style medicine diet called Ayurveda. And the founder Joshua found he was into macrobiotic eating. And if you're not familiar, that is macrobiotic type of eating is a Japanese. Well, the founder was Japanese, and he was into, if I'm maybe a little off, but the idea is he was into meditation and Zen, and it was a very like natural, balanced diet. And it originated in Japan, so a lot of the foods were of Japanese origin, and they were cooked mostly a vegan. I think it was either mostly or all vegan. But he was surprised because he had been studying this. He thought it was the best thing on the planet, and he found other people were getting healthy through other ways, through eating, let's say, meat, for example, or through veganism, but not necessarily his style. So he was a little confused and he started searching and researching. So I'll give him a lot of credit. He created a pretty cool program, and and he created a health coaching program. Some of the graduates worked with Madonna. One helped, if you've heard of the documentary Super Size Me, and one was in Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. If you've seen that, that's a great documentary about Joe Cross, an Australian guy who went through a 30-day all juice program and designed by Joel Furman, a doctor up in New York, and he lost a lot of weight. So it goes not without saying, but not without much saying, that eating differently and eating healthfully can make a difference, and not just a small difference, but can make a big, big difference. So the idea is, back to the concept of nutrient density, is to be conscientious of the different types of food out there and selecting the food, not just what's available, not just what you feel like, but you're actually making choices, informed choices on foods that will help you feel better, live longer, give you more energy, make you feel more alive. Some foods can have the opposite effect, if you haven't noticed already. So depending on where you are, what your eating background is, if you've changed your diet, and if you've changed it, leave a comment. I'd be curious to know if you've started one way, eating maybe a healthy to unhealthy or unhealthy to healthy. And you can probably notice firsthand if you've changed your diet, maybe because of a family situation or you've moved. You can be kind of forced in a situation where you only have certain things available, or maybe you're with someone, they only cook a certain way, or you don't have the same type of grocery stores around you, or you used to grow food and you moved and you have to change your garden. So the idea is there's a scale, a nutrient scale, the ORAC, I believe it's called, the ORAC chart, where it has all the different nutrients and it ranks them. And some of the lowest food at the bottom would be I guess processed food. And processed food, if you're not familiar, means, because all food, everything you eat has to come from somewhere, usually out of the ground. Everything, you eat potato chips, people think, well, that's pretty, or Doritos, whatever. So let's start. That's a good example, actually. If you start with let's just say any chips, any fried chips, regardless of the brand, it start off probably as a potato. So you might think, well, how is that potato grown, and what type of soil did they use, and what type of seeds did they use? We'll have to probably talk a whole nother time about the type of seeds, because now in the last several years and decades, we've been able to alter the genetics inside of a seed. Every seed has genetic material, and they can alter that. So let's say it would only grow for one round. Like most seeds, most things in nature, you can grow and regrow. There's a concept of recycling or regeneration, but some of the scientists and business people were able to make certain seeds grow only one round. So you'd have to buy their seed again. So it's a business move. Or they would be genetically changed. So let's say if it's an apple, for example, you cut it. Most apples turn brown if you leave it out after you cut it with a knife. But they're working on. Haven't kept up with it, but Genentech was the company at the time. They are able to keep the apple from browning. Now, you might say, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Or is it too early to tell? And I think it's the last one. We don't know the effect. So back to, again, we'll tie it back to the concept of nutrient density, naturally occurring food that was grown in very good soil, because it's not just the food, but it's the soil, the condition, the environment the seeds grow in. Just like us, you could take the healthiest person in the world, but if you put them in a smog-filled, high-stress city, that's going to have an effect on that person. The same with the seed. The seed has to have a good soil, and it has to, because most food, unless you're eating meat, everything's coming out of the ground, right? You can kind of distinguish it that way. Or water, you could say, is not a food, but it's something we're going to consume for nutrition. So it's either the plant world, the animal world, or water, basically. Probably some things that, if it grows in a tree, the tree comes from the ground. So anyways, back again. we'll keep coming back to nutrition and nutrient density. That you want to, it would benefit you. We could say it that way. Maybe that's a better way to say it rather than obligate. It would benefit you the most if you had the highest nutrition. And it's another thing I learned in school. It's not just the nutrition, but it's the state of mind you're in, and what's going on in your life, where you feel fulfilled. Kind of a side note, but it ties in. So it's more than just the physical food that you consume. It's also the environment. But if you were going to choose the best food, it would suit you the best. It would serve you the best. It would propel your health the best if you had the best possible food at all meals. Okay. So they found nutrient-dense foods. The highest nutrient-dense foods, or the most nutrient-dense foods, usually are of the green, leafy greens. And a leafy green, if you're not familiar, of course, is usually like a lettuce, your lettuces, or your thicker greens like your kale, collard greens, and also the other greens. Sometimes there's turnip greens, there's beet greens, there's mustard greens, there's spinach. I'm looking around to see what I have on my counter, actually, because I have a lot of these on the counter nearby. And all the green vegetables, celery. And it's not just green, but it's also the other color, your orange vegetables, like orange tomato, could be orange tomatoes, orange bell peppers, and red tomatoes, and red bell peppers, and of course all of the subterranean vegetables like beets and carrots and radishes and onions and potatoes, regular potatoes and sweet potatoes and yams, and the list goes on and on. There's so many foods. There's so many foods you may not even know of. That so many varieties of foods that grow. If you ever traveled, or if you've changed your grocery store, you might see whole another of option. And then, of course, the whole world of fruits and spices and dandelion greens, and it's really amazing. That's what's drawn me to this world, that all the food variety can affect us. You can give 3 different diets to 3 different people, and let's say they were identical twins and they had the same exact genetics, then you'd see different results. If you gave someone junk food per se versus someone salads, and versus someone kind of a little bit of both, you'd see probably a different action in their physiology if you did their measurements, their blood pressure and all that. So the idea is, now back to this ORAC scale, the highest, the most nutritional food that was found by these researchers was kale. Kale was like the top, like the super green, super healthiest vegetable around. Now it could be, it depends what your body needs now, so it's just to give you an idea, but I bring this all up to help you, give you an idea. If you're eating junk food and you don't feel good, or you're pre-diabetic, or you have diabetes, or you have some condition, and as a disclaimer, I'm sharing my information. This is not to diagnose or treat. This is just educational and anecdotal information only. But I'm sharing that you can empower you to make choices, adding things to your diet like, garlic and ginger, and having a smoothie, and there's a lot of things you can do that we call like low-hanging fruit. Yes, definitely a food reference as a side note. But all these things you can do to help you improve your health if you're not already there. And if you're already in good health, you could probably step it up a little more. So look into nutrient-dense foods. I'll link some options in the description. And one thing I wanted to also add, most people don't know, if you have chips like potato chips, it's usually fried. It doesn't say fried. It will say if it's baked, but if it doesn't say fried, usually means it's fried. And you may wonder why that matters. It's because oils have a lot of calories. So if you're watching your calories, that's number one. Number two, there can be kind of an addictive quality. See, most people don't realize we have certain, how can we say it? There's a few things in nature you don't get much in human history, like salt and sweet and oily. So these things are present in a lot of junk food, and a lot of times they're on purpose because we, as our physiology has supposedly evolved, we didn't get that much in our history. And we're kind of drawn to that. That's why this can kind of be an addictive quality. So self-control, discipline are great things to work on. And try to, if you do want to be in better health, and you do want to have more energy, you do want to feel more alive and sleep better, then I suggest you seek out nutrient-dense foods. That's mostly your everything I mentioned, the greens, all the different varieties of the fruits and vegetables. Look into herbs and spices, and just try it out. What are you guys' thoughts? If you guys have you guys tried eating in a nutrient-dense way? Are you familiar with that term? Are you familiar with the ORAC chart? Are you familiar with smoothies? I imagine most, if not all of you are, depending on where you are in the world. So yeah, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, and check out the links in the description. And I wish you the best of health, the best of luck, and until next time, take care.